It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So we're watching Blake Griffin dunk 3 times on the Celtics. 2 of them were and one, where he got the dunk and the foul and crushed the Celtics' faint hopes of coming back. And you sit there and you're like, wow, man, he really coasted in Detroit. He really just was like, I'm not giving you 100%. I don't want to be here, and you're not getting everything that I have. It's very obvious. He hadn't dunked since 2019. And then he goes to Brooklyn, and in 26 regular season games, 18 dunks. And 3 in this one game in the playoffs. It just highlights, and I wrote this on Boston Sports Journal, how a guy can quit on his team and still get rewarded. And you watch the Brooklyn Nets and you say, man, Harden quit on his team too. James Harden quit on this team on the Houston Rockets. That's how he got to the Brooklyn Nets. He 100% quit on his team. There's no real denying that. Fans in Houston will tell you that. Even Nets fans can look at objectively what happened in Houston and be like, yeah, that wasn't great. Just like you can look at Blake Griffin and what he did in Detroit and be like, yeah, that wasn't great. And look, I do not blame the Brooklyn Nets for making these deals. I don't blame them one bit. Danny Ainge would have done the exact same thing the Brooklyn Nets did. Any GM, any person putting a team together would do the exact same thing that the Brooklyn Nets did. Why not? That's the system. This is what the NBA is. Who gives a damn if a guy is quitting on his team if he can make your team better? And if you're the fan of that team, you're celebrating in the streets. This is awesome. Look, we got James Harden. There are Celtics fans, you might be one of them, who are pissed that the Celtics didn't go for James Harden this year. You look at what he's doing in Brooklyn, and you say, not only would you take him off of Brooklyn, you put him on the Boston Celtics. He could be doing this for the Boston Celtics. And you have James Harden and Jason Tatum and whatever is left. And you're like, yeah, let's roll. And he's, you take him away from the competition. Maybe the Celtics season goes differently. Do you care if you're a Celtics fan that he quit? No. But fans of the other teams do care. And this is the problem. This is the problem that the NBA faces. And I don't know how this gets changed. What can they do? Because Harden and Blake Griffin very clearly quit on their teams. And you have a league full of fans, and this is the most important thing because the fans spend the money. The fans watch the games. The fans buy the tickets. If you disenfranchise the fans, if the fans are pissed off and they feel like something's, not on the up and up, then you run a risk of the league falling in popularity. You really do. Fans around the league, like right now, it's probably Boston fans. You guys, they're sitting there like, can you believe that Blake Griffin is dunking all over us after not dunking for 2 years? Now here he is dunking through people. Like, where was that? How was that fair to the fans in Detroit? And could Detroit have gotten something in a trade for him? Probably not. But I don't know. If he's shown that he had some life in him, maybe some team could have given them something. Or maybe they could have gotten a trade exception. Something. I don't know. Something. Something more than a buyout. And I got to be clear here. This is not anti-player empowerment because I think player empowerment is important. Free agents, this is not about Kevin Durant. It's not even about Kyrie. And you're probably sitting there thinking like, well, Kyrie quit on the Celtics at the end too. That Milwaukee series at his final minutes in Boston were not great. But that's not even about that either. It's not. Like that's a different point. Kyrie was a free agent. No matter what he said or what he did or anything that he did in Boston, Kyrie's a free agent. And free agents are free to do whatever they want. I didn't have a problem with Kevin Durant going to Golden State. I didn't have a problem with Kyrie and KD teaming up in Brooklyn. That's their prerogative. Brooklyn happened to be a team that was in the right place at the right time and had the cap space. Great. Good for them. All right? I can't knock Brooklyn for doing something that you would want the Boston Celtics to do. Whatever you're a fan of, whatever team you're a fan of, you want them to do what Brooklyn did. And if the players want to go play for them, that's their prerogative. They got a team willing to pay them. They get the right to choose where they work. That's 100% their choice. And even when it comes to asking for a trade, and this is part of the nuance of this conversation because I don't know where it goes, but if an NBA team can trade a player, then a player can ask for a trade from an NBA team. A team can say, hey, we're giving you a 4-year contract, and then a year into it be like, nah, we're trading you. And you have no choice. You have to go. So, yes, I support a player who says, all right, well, I've got 3 years left on my deal, but things have changed here so dramatically. This is not what I signed up for. I would like to be traded. Okay, that's fine. But to me, just like a team has to find the right deal, like there has to be some level, some mechanism, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, and this is the problem. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the league knows what it is, but you cannot have a guy like Harden just say, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to go party. I'm going to go party with my mask off in the middle of the pandemic, in the midst of all of these cases spiking, and I'm going to do it in full view, and whatever happens, happens. You know, the team is in training camp, and he's at a club, and he's blatantly quitting on his team and throwing a temper tantrum and forcing his way out. What can the league do about something like that? And not only forcing his way out, forcing his way onto the team that he wants to go to and saying, hey, I'm only going to Brooklyn. Because he's throwing such a tantrum that if, I don't know, the Minnesota Timberwolves, let's say, said, no, we'll trade. Or let's use a realistic example, the Denver Nuggets. They had an opportunity at the players. Let's pretend the Denver Nuggets were willing to give up what the Houston Rockets were looking for. And Harden was like, nah, I'm not going to Denver. I want to go to Brooklyn. So what does Denver say? Well, we're not going to give up what we want to give up, what we could give up, because he doesn't want to be here. And we're seeing him throw this tantrum. He's just going to continue throwing this tantrum. And we're going to give up assets to then deal with this guy and have him never play here? That doesn't make any sense. What's the answer? The real answer is having a team willing to make a point and void his contract. That's the answer. Because Harden, coming into the season, had 3 years left at 40 plus million. And so 120, 130, whatever million number the number was, a team, if they wanted to make a point, if a player was throwing that kind of tantrum and violating essentially his contract, if they wanted to make that point, they could. Now, maybe it wouldn't take, but it would certainly scare the hell out of certain players. Certainly make things a lot less, I don't know, less likely. If players knew that their contract was at risk, maybe they'd be a little less demonstrative about the trade. There's got to be a middle ground between requesting a trade and never getting it, or requesting a trade and just throwing the absolute worst temper tantrum than you can get so you can get what you want. Because fans don't want to see that. We're watching the Brooklyn Nets, an awesome team. This team, I don't know who's going to stop these guys. They're amazing together. On top of the three guys that they have, you've got Joe Harris and you've got other guys that can really hurt you in many, many ways. This, They didn't even have Jeff Green for the whole thing. Jeff Green looks great with them. Landry Shamet has had moments. He had moments in this game. They are a juggernaut right now for however long it lasts. But whatever team they play next, fans in that city will watch Blake Griffin dunk on them and go, huh, I thought he was done. Turns out he was faking it or coasting and quitting. Well, that sucks. Well, what the hell what are we doing here? He quit and went to the team that he wanted to go to. There's 2 guys on that team like that. Is this a conversation that the league wants? What can they do about it? I don't know. I wrote about this, like I said, on Boston Sports Journal. It's an extended conversation to have. I just in this, it's not the time that we want to have it, but when you watch Blake Griffin doing this stuff, it's very obvious what had happened in his time in Detroit, and you say, God, man, that sucks from an outside perspective. Brooklyn Nets fans love it. They should love it. If the situation was reversed, I'd be sitting here saying, wow, can you believe that Blake Griffin's dunking all over the Brooklyn Nets? And somebody on the Brooklyn Nets side would be having this rant. Celtics fans would be going crazy for this team, celebrating. Hey, banner 18, 19, 20. That's the reality of it. If it's your team that's doing it, you love it. But the fact is that I don't know if the league can really afford having this happen, because who's next and how egregious is it? And all of these teams with young stars, like look at the Utah Jazz and all of the stuff that just happened with Donovan Mitchell. Are people in Utah just like, wait a second, is Donovan going to quit on us? Like, we're right there. We're so close. Is Donovan going to be like, you know what? This injury thing, I'm done. I'm out. Trade me. I'm done. I don't care if this new contract just kicks in. Like, I'm done. I quit. And if he throws a tantrum and leaves, I'm not saying he will or I expect it to, but like, you don't think that people in Utah are kind of a little worried about that? Fans in Boston with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. If this keeps going the way it's going, if these guys are disappointed by what's been happening, you see Kyrie leave and Al Horford leave and Gordon Hayward leave, maybe you're a little worried about the future. How much? I mean, Tatum just signed that 5-year deal, which is really a 4-year deal because he's got a player option, but could it be a 3-year deal or a 2-year deal? When, what's up with Bradley Beal? Where's Beal going to go? Is Tatum going to be like, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. Send me to whatever team Bradley Beal is going to. Some people are afraid of that.